December 2, 2010. Inside a conference hall in Zurich, some of the most powerful men in football are waiting for a decision that will shape the sport for generations. The envelopes are ready. The cameras are rolling. And around the world, football fans expect one of the usual giants to win. The United States, Australia, maybe Japan. Then the announcement comes. Qatar. For a moment, the room almost freezes. Some delegates smile. Others stare in disbelief. Journalists immediately rush for answers. Within minutes, headlines begin appearing across the world asking the same question. How did Qatar win? At first, it looks like a football surprise. But over the years, that surprise turns into something much bigger. Investigators begin digging. Journalists uncover hidden meetings. Former FIFA officials face accusations. Police launch arrests. Court documents emerge. And one by one, some of the most powerful figures in world football become connected to a controversy that refuses to disappear. More than a decade later, the debate is still raging. Was Qatar simply the winner of an aggressive and successful World Cup bid? Or was football's biggest tournament awarded under circumstances that the public still doesn't fully understand? Because the deeper investigators looked, the stranger the story became. And what started as a simple vote would eventually become one of the most controversial chapters in football history. December 2, 2010. Outside FIFA headquarters in Zurich, television crews from every continent wait in the cold. Inside, representatives from 4 countries sit through the final moments of a campaign that has lasted years. The United States arrives with confidence. Australia believes it has a chance. Japan and South Korea are still fighting. And then there is Qatar, a country with no World Cup history. No football tradition on the level of its rivals. Summer temperatures so extreme that many people cannot imagine a tournament being played there at all. As the voting results are revealed, the room grows quieter. One by one, competing bids are eliminated. Then comes the final announcement. Qatar will host the 2022 FIFA World Cup. The reaction is immediate. Some delegates celebrate wildly. Others look stunned. Journalists rush from their seats to file breaking stories. Within minutes, television networks around the world are replaying the moment again and again. For Qatar, it is a historic victory. For many observers, it is a mystery. Questions begin appearing almost instantly. How did Qatar convince enough voters? What happened during the bidding process? Why had so many experienced football insiders predicted a completely different result? Those questions spread far beyond Zurich. And as the celebrations continue, reporters start chasing leads that will transform a surprising football decision into a global controversy. Because the story of Qatar's victory was only beginning. The celebration had barely ended when the first doubts appeared. In the days after the vote, newspapers across Europe, America, and Australia began publishing stories about the bidding process. Reporters weren't focusing on Qatar's plans for stadiums or infrastructure. They were asking how the vote had been won. Some journalists pointed to private meetings between bid officials and FIFA executives. Others examined relationships that had developed behind the scenes during the campaign. Every new article seemed to raise another question. Then came the reactions from the losing bids. Officials connected to rival campaigns struggled to understand the result. Many had entered the final vote believing Qatar was an outsider. Yet somehow, the outsider had defeated every competitor. The surprise quickly turned into suspicion. As media attention intensified, former football insiders started speaking anonymously. Rumors circulated through newspapers, television reports, and football circles. Some claims were dramatic. Others were impossible to verify. But together they created a problem FIFA could not ignore. Instead of fading away after the announcement, the controversy kept growing. Months passed, then years. And the questions remained exactly where they had started. What happened inside the bidding race? Who spoke to whom? And was the outcome really decided only by football reasons? By now, the story was no longer about a tournament scheduled for 2022. It was becoming an investigation, one that would eventually reach prosecutors, police forces, and courtrooms far beyond the world of football. May 27, 2015. Before sunrise, the luxury surroundings of Zurich's Bauer au Lac Hotel are unusually quiet. Inside, senior FIFA officials are preparing for another football congress. Some are having breakfast. Others are getting ready for meetings that will shape the future of the game. Then the police arrive. Officers move through the hotel corridors. Doors are knocked on. Officials are informed that they are being detained. One by one, figures connected to world football are escorted from the building. Outside, journalists suddenly realize something extraordinary is happening. Television cameras rush into position. Reporters begin broadcasting live. Within hours, images of FIFA officials leaving the hotel dominate news channels across the world. For many fans, it is a shocking sight. The organization that governs the world's most popular sport is now at the center of a criminal investigation. The arrests are linked to allegations involving corruption, bribery, and financial misconduct stretching back years. American prosecutors announce charges. Swiss authorities open their own investigations. Football's governing body is facing a crisis unlike anything in its modern history. And almost immediately, attention turns toward one question. Could the investigation eventually uncover what happened during the 2022 World Cup vote? The answer isn't clear. Some investigators begin examining bidding processes. Journalists revisit old reports. Documents that once seemed forgotten suddenly become important again. What had started as a surprising World Cup decision is now connected to an international investigation making headlines across the globe. And the deeper investigators looked, the more complicated the story became. As investigators pushed deeper into FIFA's world, the story became less dramatic, but far more complicated. Thousands of pages of documents were collected. Emails were reviewed. Financial records were examined. Witnesses were interviewed. Lawyers, investigators, journalists, and football officials all seemed to be searching for the same thing: a piece of evidence that could finally explain the 2010 vote. Then new reports began appearing. Former FIFA executives made accusations against one another. Leaked documents found their way into newspapers. Journalists published claims about meetings, agreements, and relationships that had existed during the bidding process. Each revelation generated headlines. Each headline generated more questions. But there was a problem. The closer investigators got to the center of the story, the harder it became to separate allegation from proof. Some reports appeared damaging. Others were challenged immediately. Certain witnesses contradicted each other. Some claims could not be fully verified. New evidence sometimes strengthened a theory, only for another development to weaken it weeks later. For football fans trying to follow the story, the picture became increasingly confusing. There was no single moment that explained everything. No dramatic confession. No undeniable smoking gun that ended the debate. Instead, the controversy grew into a maze of reports, investigations, legal arguments, and competing narratives. Years after the original vote, people were still reaching completely different conclusions from the same evidence. And while investigators continued searching for answers, the countdown to the World Cup itself was getting shorter. Whether the questions had been resolved or not, football's biggest tournament was rapidly approaching. November 20th, 2022. 12 years after the vote that shocked football, the World Cup finally begins. The opening ceremony fills stadiums with light, music, and celebration. Millions of viewers tune in from every corner of the world. For the first time in history, the tournament is being played in the middle of the European club season. The football has arrived. But so have the questions. Outside the stadiums, journalists continue discussing the controversy that has followed the tournament for more than a decade. Television panels revisit old investigations. Newspapers publish fresh analysis. Former officials are once again asked about the vote that awarded Qatar the World Cup. Inside the stadiums, however, a different story is unfolding. Fans from dozens of countries pack the stands. Unexpected results create new headlines. Giant killings, dramatic comebacks, and penalty shootouts begin capturing the world's attention. For many supporters, the focus shifts back to football. Then comes one of the tournament's defining moments. Morocco eliminates Spain. Later, they eliminate Portugal. Players collapse to the ground in celebration while supporters fill the stadium with noise. A team few expected to reach the semifinals is suddenly making history. The World Cup is producing unforgettable scenes. Yet the controversy never completely disappears. Every spectacular match exists alongside a debate that started back in 2010. As the tournament moves toward its conclusion, one reality becomes impossible to ignore. Whatever people think about the bidding process, the World Cup is happening. And when the final whistle eventually blows, the arguments surrounding Qatar's victory are still far from over. December 18, 2022. Inside Lusail Stadium, the World Cup reaches its final chapter. Argentina and France deliver a match that many immediately call one of the greatest finals ever played. Goals, comebacks, extra time, penalties. When the shootout ends, players fall to the grass in exhaustion while tens of thousands celebrate around them. For a moment, football becomes the only story. But only for a moment. As the celebrations fade, the questions that had followed the tournament for more than a decade return once again. Journalists revisit old investigations. Documentaries are released. Former FIFA officials continue giving interviews. New reports analyze evidence that has already been debated for years. The same arguments appear again and again. Some believe the collection of allegations, testimony, and investigations paints a clear picture of what happened. Others point to the fact that despite years of scrutiny, no investigation produced a definitive finding capable of reversing the result or rewriting football history. That disagreement is what keeps the story alive. Most scandals eventually reach an ending. This one never really did. Instead, it became something unusual. A football controversy where millions of people examined the same events and reached completely different conclusions. More than a decade after the vote in Zurich, the debate remains unfinished. Not because people stopped searching for answers, but because the answer everyone wanted was never universally accepted. And that may be why this story continues to fascinate football fans around the world. The vote happened. The World Cup happened. Yet the argument never ended. So what do you think? Was Qatar's victory simply the result of a successful World Cup bid? Or is this a story that football still hasn't fully explained? Let us know in the comments. And subscribe if you want football documentaries that follow the story behind the story.